ICT, that is information and communication technology, has been introduced in the educational system, so that now the student himself or herself able to learn themselves. That means here the scope of the teacher is changed as a instructor. So initially we call is a teacher, we behaves as a teacher. So once in the traditional systems, we are as a call teachers because we ourselves has to teach, and we ourselves has to clear, and everything is solved by ourselves. But as the goes on, years passing on, this educational system has been transformed with the implementation of ICT, that is information and communication technology. So with this implementation, what the system has been changed, has been transformed into a great era, so that now the student himself can learn with the help of a teacher. Here in the previous case, teacher himself pulls the students, but here the student himself can grow it up. But still there is some challenges in this system. Now, here the main objective of this e-content system is a to develop the knowledgeable society. So, what is this knowledgeable society is? In the previous systems, we ourselves depends upon others to teach something else. But in the present system, we ourselves can learn without without having the help of others by using a common term called the internet. Now the internet has been raised, which becomes then powerful tool of the education. So as the goes on, the educational system is going on to transforming. There are many advantages for the students, like the development of your communication skills, collaboration skills, creativity skills, and thinking and problem solving skills. That means it is easy to develop the skills of the students as a part of your core of your basic educations, along with the reading, writing, and arithmetic skills. So this ICT, that is information communication and technology, has been a great revolution in the educational system. So where the experiential learning platforms have been developed. So in olden systems, we don't find this byju's and everything else. We used to learn of it through textbooks only. But today's knowledge, they have been transformed into today's knowledge wise. That means they are created in terms of your visual or audios. So this is what that advantages of your ICT, so that the student can learn or can listen many a times as if their requirement. So the next case is, this also helps the teachers to keep up or to improve their skills along with their younger generations, for whom the internet is a natural environment. So in this case, the e-content has helpful, but it is not necessary or mandatory. So the thing is, the teachers who themselves really want to improve themselves, so they are ready to improvise. They're using the present system, that they are able to cope up with the present system, so that they can gain the knowledge and they can distribute the knowledge to their students. So either in any modes. So in this pattern of distribution or learning process of the knowledge, the major thing is here e-content, which is helpful to share the knowledge. But in all the systems, it is not yet mandatory. So now this e-content has becomes resource for development of all the society, irrespective of their caste, religion, and gender bias are empowered to create. So therefore now we use these sources. That means this e-content development, the content refers to different applications. Dear faculty members, the content refers to the different applications. That applications may be related to business, or the applications may be related to your educational. But whatever their objective is, to gain the knowledge or share the information, so they, with the help of this information, they can uplift their that is cultural and development activities. So this is the main objective of here the learning process. So in the olden days, to teach a lesson, for example, if you take the educational system, in olden days we used to use the blackboard, and when if it is a larger content, right, to it takes many hours to describe and define and to take the notes, to dictate the notes, all these parameters to fulfill, it takes many number of hours. But with the help of e-content, so it takes only the time to prepare. So once it is prepared, the content can be used many a times. So, and many an at time occasions based upon their application restrictions. So what is e-content now? So now this is called a digital content, which refers to the content or information delivered over network based devices, that is made available using computer networks such as internet. So now e-content is the digital text and images designed to display on web pages. So content may be developed using on different platforms. One the platforms may be the PowerPoint presentations. So the information can be displayed on the web pages. The information can be displayed as a text. So different contents can be displayed in a different patterns. So, well developed e content delivered many times to different learners. Individual course components, that is, units, lessons, and media elements, so, so also can be reused in different contexts. So, this is the main advantages for the development of e content. So, digital education designed to support teachers and students in transferring and acquiring knowledge remotely as well as face to face. Now, an e-content can consist of many different materials. So here the e-content is depends upon both teachers and students. Here, this is the main concept is how you are going to gather the information, whether it is fulfilling the objectives of the students. It is based upon these criterions the content method will be developed. So one of the most important roles is perspectives is activating students and strengthening them the individualization of the learning process. See, this is what we usually observe is the student always depends upon the teacher, whether the teacher has able to solve the problem or able to explain on the board, then he is to replicate it. But using the e-content, we can strengthen them to prepare their own individual strengthening, that is learning process. And addition also, in addition, this can be enjoyable if you use multiple images, and also can be used with the help of e-content, we can conduct many seminars or group interactions, etc. But we have to remember that e-content is not a teaching method, it is a resource. So that can be used when conducting classes regardless of the chosen method. So the content development is one criteria and the content delivery is one another criteria. So the what is the difference of the content development is we usually, that is what we called it as a curriculum. So we usually make that curriculum at the beginning of the any sessions or classes. So the next thing is whether that curriculum is going to put into the real time according to the constraints. That means according to the time slots, whether the curriculum is going to implement is not implementing or not, it should be important. So developing is one, e-content is one more criteria, whereas the implementations is also another criteria. So here in digital pattern, e-content is not only a form of presenting educational content, but also it helps in motivating students through different platforms like video, gamification, and AR, audio, video, visual recognition, etc. So, what the purpose of content? The content depends upon the applications or the area where you are going to implement it. If it is implementing as a quiz, so we can put different images or different knowledgeable suggestions so that it can make the interest of the participants. If it is a class, so we usually think about the knowledge levels of the students. So this is one more important criteria while developing the e-content. The next is educational e-content in use. So what is the purpose of e-content? Exceptionally in educational system is one, I can go for the remote learning and opportunities in the classroom and adaptive learning, and the textbooks are available in gadgets. So in the developing of e-content for a particular subject or particular area, so that e-content can be learned at a far place. That means that it should not be not necessary both the teach speaker and the listener should be at the same place, so we can make it as a remote learning. And if they are in the same place, it has more advantages, like it creates more opportunities to discuss in the classroom. So this is one more. So generally, in the case of remote learning, the advantage is the listener can listen at any moment of time, whether the speaker will be available at that time or not. It depends upon the time situations. So there is a small gap between that speaker and the learner in the case of remote learning, so or there will be a small delay. But when the speaker and listeners are both are available in the classroom, they have the excellent facilities, that means opportunities to discuss more and more about the particular concept, so that the more they discuss, they can share the more information to the classroom. And the next one is adaptive learning. So the adaptive learning implements here to learn at any moment of time and at different perspectives, and the necessary materials required to develop the e-content also can be converted into either PDFs, so or any PPTs, so that they can be available or to download in the gadgets like your mobiles, laptops, PCs, etc. So now who is e-content for? For what purpose e-content for? The e-content is designed for mainly four categories. One, the students. That is, they are the target group. The students are the target group for whom digital materials as such as e-books and interactive assignments will be created. So therefore, the digital solutions can be introduced. They can acquire knowledge anywhere in the world. And next one is the next area of perspective is here, teachers. All digital materials are those who are required for the students are prepared by these teachers. Now here the teachers want to, in order to teach the teachers want to teach effectively, they search for the new solutions that e-content provides. So instead of typing or writing anything else, they can search for various internet through the internet platform. They can refer many topics or many articles, and overall from the articles they can develop the summary of the particular content, so that they can share the more information when with respect to the traditional classroom. So this e-content allows also the development of teachers teaching methodology. So by using this, the teacher can also enables and also learns by collecting data and statistics that inform about the students development. Next one is the parents. So, for natural reasons, parents generally appreciate solutions that bring better results in education. So, generally, the parents' requirement is to get or to improvise their students, their children's performance. So, they didn't bother about actually how they are implementing and how they are going. They bother about, they think whether child has been improvising or not. So if we use, so therefore the that means with the help of these methodologies or e-content concepts, we can improvise the students performance, so that the parents also will support it. So there will be also appreciation, we will get the appreciation from the parents. And next one is the tutors. So if generally in the case of your educational systems where the tutors are also available to teach or at their particular intervals of time, so the tutor can also refers that e-content and they can able to explain to the students whenever they are required. So this is the content developed for four key area of categories, that is students, teachers, parents, and tutors. So these are the different. areas of the targeting people. Now, what are the various forms of e-contents? So, first one is the visualization. That visualization may be either in the image or graphic. And next one is rich internet applications. So the next one is game through your sports. Next one is journals. So that is articles we can collect and we can give more information. And next one is the database. So we can collect all the information that could be stored in a server called the database, and from whenever we required, we could collect that information from that database. And next one is the presentation, either in the form of your PPTs. Next one, audio video. So next is simulation, that is your ebooks. That means they can learn about at any moment of time, where depends upon the student's activity. So next one is immersive content. So next one is energized books. So there will be different forms of e-contents. So these e-contents can be becomes essential component of the teacher and learning process. So e-contents are prepared by the agencies as well as the individuals as well as the organizations. So presently we see that e-contents or different contents represent the Byju's, Vedantu, different platforms or organizations has been developed, and also the teacher himself or also developed can a particular PPT for a PowerPoint presentation regarding their particular subject. But this, while developing the e-contents, the major issue will be the quality of the e-content. So, what the information is you are keeping as a content or developing it. So, this is very important issue. So, while you are designing and developing of the e-content, so what the information should we keep? Whether we keep all the information or whatever the information available the internet, I could not keep it because it has many restrictions. So while developing and designing the e-content, so one it is you have to think about is quality and the complexity. That means what level of the quality. It depends upon the content of the learners. For example, if your students are slow learners and below average people, so if I developed a content which is of the highest thinking level ability, then it cannot synchronize with the students skills. So therefore, depending upon this their knowledge levels, the content and the complexity of the content also should be created. So the next one is various instructional design models also should be used, right, to develop the material. So here instructional designing models means you have to analyze. So what is this? Now, what instructional design models means? What is my main objective of developing e-content? So how many objectives, whether the target audience are reaching these objectives or not, and what are the methods can be implemented to teach the effective manner to reach the our target or objectives. So this is instructional design models. So in designing and development e-content, we have to adopt one of the instructional design models. Depends upon the models, depends upon the different aspects. So next one is the most common model is AD model, that is analyze, design, develop, implement, and evaluate. So these are the 5 steps to develop a model. So generally, this model is initially developed by the Florida State University. So for in general of military inter-service training. Now let us see what is analysis part. So first phase is analysis. So what we have to do is we have to analyze about the requirements. So what we should develop, what is the learners required, what is the task they are going to do, and how much time is available with them, and what context this topic or content is useful. So based upon all these parameters, we our analysis, so we have to identify it. So that is called analyzing the learning needs, is identifying the needs from the perspective of different learners, teachers, subject experts, etc. So the need should be clearly stated. Here the important thing is the objectives must be there clearly defined. It should not be the generalized. So for example, if it is you have to develop a content of 5th class or 10th class or even an engineering subject a content. So or if you are developing a module. So let us you discuss what their units, what they have, what is the major important concept, and which is most important, which is the middle important and the least important, and according to that, so the requirement, the weightage of marks you have to consider, and due to all these factors you consider, you can develop a content so that it is useful to more number of people. Or else if you analysis is poor, so if you develop a content, but it is not useful in the real time scenario, then our objective is to reach the many people, goal is to reach for the many people, it may not. So this is what the analysis is. The next phase is the contextual analysis. What is that analysis is? First phase is based upon the requirements of each and every activity. So next one is contextual analysis is, so it has to take the data which has should be from the learning environment. So the data should be collected from either individual or group or self learning. That means you have to develop a content whether it should be right useful for the individual or self paced, or it may be an a regular or formal learning. So that means if it is a self-paced learning, for example, it is used for only that regular basis. That means they can access their any own time. So whereas if it is a formal group, now there will be a teacher or the content or the tutor will come or interact with the learners at a particular period of point of time, and they can discuss about the concerned topics, and that is the scenario will go into the contextual analysis. But all these things depends upon the needs of the development. And next one is the learner analysis. So by implementing this analysis and developing the content, I can take the feedback and I can observe that what is the average learner analysis is, whether the information is suitably reached to the many people, or it is restricted to only a few people, or it may be as not reachable at all. It depends upon the academic levels and attributes, so such as skills, motivation, etc. So that is nothing but preparing the learner profile. So it also helps, this learner analysis will helps you know about the learner. So next one is your task analysis. So task analysis means in sometimes in the case of developing e-content, we have to put some tasks to the learners, whether it may be in the form of assignments, or it may be an a quiz, or it may be it may be in the different scenarios or exam sessions. So which will create or educate more and more the learning skills of the learner. And next one is the content analysis. So that is nothing but summary. So this before designing this good content has required before designing and developing content. So this verify which helps in verification the content with respect to cognitive appropriateness. So next one is the design. So it is concerned with defining the learning objectives, structuring the content logically, specifying the instructional and evaluation strategies. So the learning objectives are to be defined and clear, realistic and measurable terms. Now, learning objectives are the statements that describe what the learner will be able to do at the end of the course or program. See, every course we have the objectives. So, what is the purpose of your objectives is generally we discuss about that. For with the after completion of this program or course, what the learner or what the student is going to get or benefited from that course or program. So these objectives should specify performance and communicate their purposes. So content is to be structured logically, following some simple to complex from known to unknown or concrete to abstract or general to specific, etc. See, in developing the content, see some subjects we use unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, unit 4. When we observe that unit 1 always refers to an a basic level, and unit 2 is somewhat next level, and unit 3 is somewhat the medium level, unit 4 becomes the at most top level, or it relates to completely application side. So there is a synchronization or scenario between the various units. So if you develop the content without having any the synchronization, it may not reach the goal or may not fulfill their objectives efficiently. So next one is instructional strategies are to be stated clearly. So depending on the learning style and nature of the content, we have to decide the appropriate instructional strategies. So that means completely developing the PPT. For example, a teacher wants to show students that a particular concept like light or topic called light. So there the light, you have to show some topics. In the case of a light, it is better to show as in the form of images. It is sometimes it is better to show in the form of audio visuals, and it may be in the sometimes of media mixtures. So but this will help you to make the interest in learning for the student. So if we keep only in one mode, sometimes the efficient the background, the light has to be seen, that we will miss it as is in the form of image. So sometimes it is better to learn which content is useful. Sometimes what for that means which fits one, you have to check whether the image is sufficient for this topic, or we have to go for the or an audio video visual, or only audio or only video. It depends upon their content development. Next one is learner evaluation strategies. So here learner strategy analysis is it is practicing that whatever the learner has listened or as objectives. Now, by conducting a computer marked or tutor marked assessments, so our post test or remedial test, etc., are to be specified. So we have to decide about the formative and summative assessments. It depends upon the assessments. Like if you take the NPTEL, we have a different course, 12 weeks courses or 8 weeks courses. So each week will have the assignments. So after that, we are going to write the one exam. So like these assessments are to be used to analysis the learner strategies. So before developing content for the selected course, review the proposed learning objectives once again. Make sure that content and assessment tests and exercises match the objective stated. This is very important, that whether we are what the content is really matching with our objective, and whatever we are conducting the assessment test and exercise, whether it really fulfills the objective stated. So this is what. And next one is development. So in the case of e-content development, it is related to the creation of storyboard. So storyboard is nothing but scripting the entire course content. So the term storyboard is taken from film production. In a movie, it indicates that visual representation of the various scenes. So here, what we will say, in the development of case, we will keep scene by scene. That means one visual aid after the another one. So after seeing that different visuals in the sync order, we have to imagine or we have to develop a content. So that means this is useful for in the especially the storyboard case. In the case of film production, that means they will keep one scene and another scene. We have to link that first scene and the secondary scene. So like this, we will linking all these scenes which are visually aids, we can develop the content of the story. So this is which describes the step-by-step script of the final outcome of the event. But storyboard is created to provide a blueprint of the course, which is, but please remember that whatever we have imagined and we have linked it, it is not maybe the final one, it gives only the outline of the summary. So the storyboard is created based on the objectives and instructional strategies. So therefore, programming and integration of all media elements into a cohesive multimedia package are the part of this phase, especially this content. Development or storyboard is used in the of multimedia applications. And next one is implementing phase. So in the implementation phase, materials are distributed to learners. So here, initially, materials, whatever the materials are given to the learners, and now a document should is developed and which covers the entire curriculum. So therefore, here we used different methodologies to cover that curriculum. But in this pattern of implementation, the already the concerned curriculum outcomes or the material is already initially distributed to the learners. So the learners already possess that final description, so they are able to know what the content is going to deliver prior in case of delivering the speech. So now in this case, we will keep example that website is a functional if the material is on the website. So if you are some some companies, they will keep the materials what we are going to handle it, so that can be put out on the website. So that is called logging. Next one is evaluation. The evaluation phase consists of two parts. One is formative and summative evaluation. Formative evaluation is present in each stage of process. Summative evaluation determines the adequacy of the distributed materials in achieving the course objectives. So here what we will see is, so summative evaluation is going to conduct. So what is that is like here at the end of the system or at the of the course you are going to write the conduct an exam. So after fulfilling the exam, so whether the material, how many questions are being covered from that material. So is that the material is adequate or sufficient, or still it should be revised according to the needs. So that depends upon the feedback received. So now four quadrant approach in e-content development is content writer is expected to write detailed write-up on the topic of module as per content structure. The next step is textual description also be enriched with multimedia supplements. So these supplements includes images, animations, etc. So for each topic or subtopic, content writer should use examples to explain the module if required. So the first level of the quadrant is whatever you want to develop the content. That is now I am called as a content writer. So I have to think about, if I am a content writer, I have to think about on what topic I am going to write the content. So used upon the topic or module, I have to develop the content structure. So which unit first and which unit second, what are the subtopics should be included, what are the different topics should be added or removed, that should be check it first. And next one, after finalizing that, now each topic should be expressed in terms of the textual description, each topic. So while in the case of textual description, I can add different images to better understand that particular topic. So it may, I can use animations or graphics. It depends upon their context. Now each topic or subtopic content should write examples also. For better understanding of the learner, each topic or subtopic I can explain with a example at the end of their topic. So this is quadrant one. And quadrant two is, so in this quadrant, content writer is expected to provide video tutorial which will explain the topic of the module. So in this case, self-learning. Here, I am already prepared. Already prepared. I am already prepared some content already in the form of a video, and that should be posted to the learners so that the learners can learn in many a times and every at what time they can require, so they can access that module. So this module may includes the multimedia, animations, documentary, etc. Next, quadrant three, that is learn more or source for further reading or web resources. So here, apart from the main module or main material, I can access the supplementary material just like a references of the module. So So which is helpful as a source for further reading, such as books, articles, and links to websites dealing with the topic, etc. Right? So in this the third phase of your learning, here what we are going to do is we are going to introduce the references. The first phase, main material, how to develop. So the second phase, we are going to create that images to get more interactions or interest on the particular content. And the third phase is adding of more information to the existing content. So these adding more information will help the learners to learn more and more or in advance so of the topic. So this information can be available either from various textbooks or the articles or the websites that are related to it. And next one is the quadrant 4, that is called self-assessment or evaluation. So this content writer should provide minimum 10 to 15 questions for each module in MCQ with answer true or false statements. So therefore, which enables to think about the learning process of your learner. That means whether the learner is following our module or whether the learner has any trouble with our development of modules or the content is not sufficient for the information. So therefore, through the feedback system, we can take the suggested by the reviewer and therefore I can modify it. Next, e-content of script writing. So now the writing will consist of simple materials or it may be a PDF documents which can be combined with other materials like audio or video files and assignments tests. Now in that situation, storyboard development is electronic interactions would not be conducted. So next one is the development of multimedia interactive content of is a three main steps, that is content development, storyboard development, and courseware development. So in the concept of content development, writing or collecting all the required knowledge and information. This is the first phase where I can collect all the information and storyboard. From this I can develop this summary. So therefore I can develop this summary of the content by using various tools like images, etc. And courseware development. So these course, whatever this been developed, that may put into the in the course format as in the form of a CD-R CD-ROM or a website. So these integrating the content elements into a learning platform. That means whatever the things or whatever the course that you have been developed, so that is converted into either in the form of a CD format or that is attached to a particular website so that the learners can access frequently. So now the next one is the main points to be considered are avoid jargon. So in this case of jargon, that means confused. So while writing the content or e-content, so we should not be confused. So that means you could not be dual meaning. That means your topic must be specified. If your concept is as specified as thing, the learner can access, can understand very easily. And if your content is addressing multicultural audience, so if you are addressing not only single domain, if you are addressing or your content is addressing more than one single domain, then avoid that culture specific slang uh, or avoid ambiguity concepts that can create a disturbance between the different cultures. So don't use the terms that creates any misunderstandings between the various cultural activities. So this is a very important thing. Next, or never criticize anything. So minimize the use of compound sentences. When you see a colon or semicolon, examine the sentence to see if it could be made simpler or clearer. So simplify the sentence as simple as possible. Next, use personal pronouns to refer to learners. This personalizes instruction and involves your reader. So as to be more precise, you should be more in contact with the learner. You should not be as close to that learner mentality or so therefore you can use you that for the learners can be understand very close to our knowledge levels. They can easily contact us if they have any difficulties to access that our content. Next one is use bulleted lists when appropriate. So this is one more. And use the active voice in a passive voice construction and spell out acronyms in full the first time they are used. So considering them to the glossary if appropriate. Now, the structure of an interactive e-lesson is learning objectives. So, this is already we have discussed. So, containing it should be clear and informal description. Next, introduction. So, how the knowledge should be gained. That is what you have to explain it through what platform you are going to learn this knowledge and how it is helpful through this by learning and how it is helpful to the learners through the by learning this content. So the purpose of the introduction is to motivate learners to proceed with the lesson. And next one is content, that is called core of the lesson. So here I can use to facilitate learning of knowledge and skills. So here I can use different techniques for developing the content so that the learner can easily improvise their skills. And finally, at the end of the content, we'll use the summary. So which is helpful to the learner at the end of the session to recollect all the topics what he has learned. So that is expressed as in terms of summary, that is list of key points in the lesson. So importance of e-content development is, so the thing is, for what purpose this e-content development? So this helps is well planning to prepare the content by students' capabilities, and it also delivers to online and offline devices, and it is possible anywhere in the world, and it is possible at any time. So this is the importance of e-content development. So therefore, anyone can learn through e-content without considering race, community, etc. And it is incorporated with multimedia for its availability in the classroom. So therefore, it can use multi times. I can modify it or I can edit it depends upon the requirements. So there is a two term topics called the e-learning versus the distance learning. So the e-learning and distance learning are used interchangeably. Industry experts have identified some differences between these concepts. So one of the key differences is, and this is location. In e-learning, learners and instructors can be together at one place using digital tools to enhance the learning experiences. Meanwhile, distance learning is more about using the technology to bridge the distance between the students and instructors. Through distance learning, for instance, a student in the United States can attend a university in Europe without having to relocate. So this is what the difference, one of the key difference between the e-learning versus the distance learning. So next one is the computer managed learning. In a computer managed learning environment, so the instructor use computers to provide learning objectives and assess learner performance. So here this is what we will do is generally we used to conduct the test through computers. So and finding out the records and of the assessments, and finally I can analyze the assess performance of their learner. So the ranking parameters used by the systems allow the learning process. So institutions also use CML systems for storing and retrieving teaching aids. So this is one more advantage of computer managed system is, so I can store the information, I can edit the information, I can retrieve the information, and I can access the information many a times. So this is the advantage of your computer managed learning. So I need not to prepare every time for the concerned topic. So next one is computer assisted instruction. So it is computer assisted learning also. So it is a type of e-learning that computers together with the traditional teaching. So that means here both the traditional teaching will be continued as well as the computer assisted instruction will be continued. So these activities can be offered by themselves or as supplements to traditional teacher directed instruction. So the primary value of the CA is interactivity. So here The method allows students to become more active during the learning process. So in this computer assisted instruction, we generally use to go use the blackboard themselves as well as the systems. So for example, like a language called here Python programming or in. So we should initially we should go for on that blackboard. I will explain on that, and later that should be understand by using the typing that program on a particular software in the system. So synchronized online learning. In the case of synchronized online learning, so groups of students can simultaneously participate in activities in real time, anywhere they are in the world. So this real-time interaction is facilitated by online chat and video conferencing. So this type of community-oriented e-learning is one of the quickest growing types. So it because it eliminates the social isolation and poor teacher-student relationships. Asynchronous online learning is in contrast with synchronous learning. Asynchronous e-learning methods allow students to study independently at different times and locations without real-time communications. So this is nothing but this develops this self-paced learning. So here what in the case of synchronous online learning is, so all the students will be gathered at a time at any place they are located, no bother about their location. They can be accessed the same content. They can listen the class or they can discuss the about the topic and what the instructor is interact and the instructor can interact with all those students and without delays this can be done. So whereas asynchronous online learning, there is no synchronization between these instructor and a group of students. A group of students will access that content as if they can. So whenever they are free, they are going to access that content and they're going to read. So for this kind of asynchronous online learning, we used to store that information that like in the case of email, blogs, ebooks, etc or in the case of CDs and DVDs. And next one is the fixed e-learning. So in the case of your fixed e-learning, so the course of learning does not change once it is created. Here, I'm not going to change the course again. That means all participating students is the same content only. So therefore, the same material they can receive. So therefore, but the difference is the learning pace because one student can learn in within a particular period of time, whereas the another student can takes much more time or less time. So the next one is because of its rigid nature, this type of e-learning is often not ideal in e-learning environments. Adaptive e-learning. In adaptive e-learning, learning materials are redesigned and adapted to fit the needs of each individual learner. So, like parameters such as student performance, abilities, and goals are considered. So technology is advanced to the point where it is possible to implement laboratory-based techniques rather than the board techniques will effectively and efficiently. So the resulting information can further guide the assessment of instructional design process. So in the case of adaptive learning benefits, artificial intelligence technique also can be used. And next one is the linear e-learning. So here in the case of linear e-learning, the instructor will send the time and the order and the pace or the sync order at which the learners has to join that. So the information is clearly stated by the sender and there is no feedback from the receiver to the sender. So this instruction can be delivered through either television, radio and a newspaper, etc. classic form of linear e-learning. Next one is today's now we are going to for the email rather than the newspaper. Interactive e-learning is in contrast with linear e-learning. The interactive e-learning enables is two-way communication between the parties involved. So in this approach, the sender can become the receiver and vice versa. So example is messaging and discussion boards or forums. Next one is individual e-learning. So e-learning can also be classified into its group dynamics. In individual e-learning, learners study the material individually and students are expected to meet the learning objectives on their own. So collaborative e-learning. So compared to individual e-learning, collaborative e-learning is a more modern approach. Here, on the case is group discussion. Collaborative e-learning may depends upon the small groups. So where if the small groups will consist of different mentalities of people, so they are combined together and they can interact and they can discuss, and from the discussion they can learn from each other, and even they can identify the other students' strengths and weaknesses. Next, e-learning delivery methods are computer-based training or web-based training. That is CBT or WBT. So in your computer-based training, learners can access content through media. So this is in the case of computer-based training. So whatever the information has to access is that should be done through the computers. So here in the case of CDs and DVDs, so will be used on this case. Now CBT is usually run on the learner's system. Web-based training on the other hand uses the internet. So generally computer based training, what we will do, they will provide some information to a particular, they are going to install it. So on the particular system only they are going to access it. Whereas web based training, it is linked with a particular website. So anyone can download or any can they can access at any moment of time. So therefore there is no interaction between the instructions and learners in this case of concepts. So this delivery methods is officially suited for adult learners. Next, blended learning. Blended e-learning combines is face-to-face instruction and computer-mediated instruction. So this method supplements in-person instruction with technology, such as a collaboration software. So just like on your online classes, that is video classes. And next, mobile e-learning is so advanced mobile technologies and high bandwidth infrastructure and wireless technologies. So this can be used, so I can mobile learning. So in this e-learning approach, handheld computing devices are used. So therefore, since they are easily available and affordable in price, so therefore they can easily transportable like mobile devices, etc. So because we cannot carry the laptops or the systems at all the times. So therefore, the content what they are developed for the systems or laptops, now it is converted into a mobile-based learning. So where I can access that website directly through the mobile, I can download in the mobile, I can access it whenever I require. That is mobile e-learning. So social e-learning. So in the case of social e-learning, so involves the application of social principles that approach. Now here is social learning implements the face-to-face interactions. So I like in social media. Next, with this framework, social e-learning enters the use of technologies such as video conference, etc. Next one is game-based learning. So these game-based learning or gamification we will call. So we will use the gamification, and every time using the gamification, we use to develop the content. So apart from this advantages, there are several drawbacks of the e-learning also. One is online student feedback is limited. So, and therefore, I cannot access or I'm not sure whether the feedback get is exactly right or not. The next one is e-learning can cause social isolation, and e-learning requires a strong self-motivation and time management skills. This is very important things regarding to concept of learners. If the learners is interested, they will open that module and they can listen. If they are not interested, nothing. No more open it. They will simply close and they will leave. So therefore, that is very important thing is those who want to access it through the case of e-learning, so they have the strong motivation and strong determination to learn about the course. Next one is the lack of communication skill development online students. So here only one part is going to access like either the teacher or some others will act, whereas the learners will always use to listen only. So therefore, communication skills may not be developed. So cheating prevention during online assessments is complicated. So here this is one more when we are going to conduct the assessments or assignments. So it is a possible, there is a possibility to look after from the internet, and they can put the questions also. So they can able to solve. And online instructors tend to focus on theory rather than practice. So through online sessions, we can conduct only the theory, but it is difficult to handle the lab sessions. So e-learning lacks face-to-face communications, and it is limited to certain disciplines only. So it's very important thing is it is not accessible all the in the same mode to, for all the disciplines. So next one is online learning is inaccessible to the computer illiterate population. So those who do not know uh, about the computer, so they are not able to access it, and therefore it creates difficult for them. And lack of accreditation and quality assurance in online education. So finally, this e-content is will becomes an extremely effective teaching method. It is beneficial to both students and teachers in all types of personalized instruction systems. Now it is the most recent style of instruction that has sparked more interest among the teaching community worldwide. So the benefits are mainly cost efficiency, accessibility, and flexibility in terms of time and place. So which allows learning to take place when the lecturer and the learner are separated both in time and space. So it offers convenience for both the tutor and the learner also. So these are the some of their advantages, and from the conclusion of here the e-content development. Thank you.